to Unified Love Couples Ministry with your host, Senior Pastor and Apostle Reese. Join us as we share biblical principles for successful relationships and marriage. And now, Senior Pastor Olden and Apostle LaShawn Reese.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
And we are live.
Woo, woo.
All right. We see y'all joining already. If you would, please just share this broadcast. We want to encourage as many couples that we can on tonight. Yes, we see you coming in. Good evening, Charity. We see you. All right, Natasha, God bless you. Thank you so much for joining. Michelle, we see you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, they're coming in. Sean, good evening. Thank you for joining tonight. Don't forget to share this broadcast. We have the Carvils in the house. Yes. All right. We see you, Sister Renata. Thank you so much for joining. Cindy, we see you. Reverend Benton, we see you tonight. Thank you for joining. Yes, y'all come on in. Pastor Martin, please don't forget to tag others into this broadcast. Yes, we are live. Prophetess Magwood, good evening. God bless you. Mother Annie, God bless you. All right, y'all coming in tonight. Yes, we need you to share this on tonight because we are with our brother and sister. We have been fam forever. Amen. Yes. We have been rolling in ministry. We have spent time together. We are truly sisters, brothers for life. And we just thank God for the opportunity to have them on tonight. And we bless God for Overseer Emmanuel Carville and Prophetess Lakeisha Carville. They are here. Yes, yes.
God bless you.
God bless you. All right. We see y'all still logging in. Thank you for tagging and sharing. All right. We're ready to go tonight. We have a special event on tonight. I know all the time you hear from us, and we wanted to also bring couples on. We also going to do a broadcast as well. Just to let you know, it's not just us saying it. Right. There are other couples that have chosen to live godly and to live holy before God in marriage. And what good examples we have tonight within our very own Carvils being here, because not only are they married, but they are running their ministry together as one. And that's our topic tonight, building a lifetime of oneness. So let's start with the Carvils. Okay, y'all never saw them on our broadcast, so we'll put them in the hot seat tonight. Look, we didn't practice this. No. Then we just go on with the flow because, you know, what I love about them is they're transparent like we are. Yes. So you would just tell us your love story.
I'll let her start first. I think I'll start.
Well, and I'm glad I get to start first because he'll clean it up. So we've been married now for 15 years, but we've known each other for almost a lifetime. His mom, who was an evangelist, came into our neighborhood when I was a little girl and witnessed to my mom, and she was sent. And so Gail and all of her girls would start going to church with them. And so, of course, his mom never had girls. My mom had one son who passed away. However, with him passing away, she kind of adopted her boys and she kind of adopted my mom girls. So she would take care of us, take us to church, and we would just fellowship as a family. Never ever would think a relationship would develop. Never. Literally, when you say God, agenda, God's assignment, God's purpose, I would have never known. I've known ministry was always on him. And at the time, I wasn't even, just going to church and wasn't saved and in ministry. Like, he was always from a child, a young minister, in the church and the things of God. And so just going through the whole thing. And one day I was downtown. I was working downtown and I was walking outside. So I kind of remember how we reconnected because they moved away for some time and then they came back to South Florida. And I was walking in downtown and he yelled out Keisha. And I was like, yeah, this is me. And so we kind of exchanged phone numbers. And at that time, I think I gave him my work number. I didn't give him my cell number. I gave him my work number. And so he called me and he was like, it's my mom's 50th birthday. And I would love, if you and your siblings will come and support and just show us some love. And so I told him, I said, we would definitely be there because we love your mom and we want to be that support. So we will be there for the birthday celebration. Then a few days later, he called me back and was like, will you be the flower on my arm at my mom's birthday party? So I said, oh, well, I'm coming. Okay, I'll be the flower. No problem. Never had that kind of proposal. Somebody asked me to be their flower. Yeah. So, I'll be the flower on their arm. So I said yes. And we showed, my sister and I, we went. And when I walked in, we had a good time and enjoyed ourselves. And so I left that birthday party. Her birthday is a few days away from mine. And so he knows my birthday as well. And so I left there and I was home studying. And I just got a knock on my door. And I'm like, who is this? And I'm in my room and I'm studying, preparing for my exam. And I'm like, okay. And I open the door and he comes in with a birthday gift for me. And I was like, okay, thank you. You can put it right there. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I went back to studying and I didn't read, I look at the gift at the time. And so I think like the next day or so, I kind of looked at the gift and I opened and it was a letter. And he was, he wanted to take me out and things like that. And I was like, huh? Okay. And so I called one of my sisters and I was like, wait a minute now. I said, we like brothers and sisters. I can't date him. I can't go out with him. This can't be God. And so he called and I said, okay, yes, I will go out with you. So we did go out and he remembered me and my singleness, being a woman of God, saying that whenever I did get married or whoever I would date has to treat me like royalty, has to treat me like a queen. So he remembered that. So he took me to one of the exquisite restaurants that I always mentioned. And so at the restaurant, I literally went in that bathroom because I kept saying, I can't date him. I can't date him. That's all I kept telling myself all day long. And I went in the bathroom because I just couldn't seem to get the words out. So I went in the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and said, girl, you got to tell him. You can't date him. And I went back to the table, but the words would not come out. I just couldn't say it. And so time passed. We kind of just still talked and we'll go to coffee dates. And, and then it just God just kind of stepped in. And it was like, okay, this is my husband. And he did Valentine's. So just to hear that love story, he did Valentine's. So I'm a single, woman and I'm staying here. And so he says, I'm going to come over and cook a dinner for you. I'm like, okay. And he came and put on the apron and made this delicious meal. And while I was there, I had invited my sister and her, friend guy over. And so we were there, just four of us as couples sitting, eating. And he got on his knees and he proposed. I was like, and this was like, I think like 3 months later. And I'm like, oh my God, really? And before I could even say yes, my sister is screaming and jumping up and down. Keisha, get married. And so there was an immediate yes, because I saw the man of God he was, and that's our story. Well, that's my story.
I think she really did basically sum it up. I do remember that the cologne, the perfume. I just said one little part because I remember y'all told me that story. Was she didn't read the letter? She took and sat it to the side. And Sean came in the room.
She came in town
and said, "What is this?" And she opened it up, opened the letter, started reading, and said, "Girl."
Yes, because it was around Thanksgiving time. So my sister had came in town and I had left because I was studying. So I didn't have time to open up. So when she came into town, she was like, she was like, where's this come from? And I told her, I said, we call him Taffy because that's been always our relationship growing up as kids. And I was like, Taffy gave it to me. So she went in the bag and she looked and she was like, wait a minute, it's a letter in here. And so she read the letter and she was like, Keisha got a boyfriend.
Oh, Lord.
I remember when you both started dating, and I said, I have to meet this woman. Because I knew Pastor Carville since he was in his teens, like literally before going to college. And we used to fellowship with his grandmother. And he actually came back, left school in order to take over the ministry. So I'm like, wait a minute, I got to check her out.
Yes.
And when I saw you, it was nothing but the love of God. And I'm like, yes, she the one. She the one. Yes.
And that was, and I guess a part of that love story for me, because that was always my prayer. I've always, even being just like a single woman, because a lot of times we can pray descriptively in regards to physical appearance. And so we used to be in it. When I was an evangelist and I had my pastors, I would always tell them the type of man I wanted. I would be joking with them. And they would always tell me, Evangelist Coleman, just know God gonna send him. And when God sent him, he may not look the way you want him to look, and just say different things. But I had the number one thing on my list was I wanted somebody who loved God as much as I love God. So forget about every aspect of their life. I wanted someone that loves God as much as I love God, because if he loved God, God will be able to deal with his heart. God will be able to deal with him, and he will be able to treat me like the child of God, the woman of God, because he loves God. So
yes. And okay, single women, I know you're on here on tonight.
Yes.
And even before my husband and I reunited, I used to always say that I wanted someone that loves God, because if he has a relationship with God and he truly loves God, he'll know how to love me.
yes.
So single women, make sure that you're someone, he has to put God first. And our topic tonight, building a lifetime of oneness. We cannot connect to things or people that we are not equally yoked with. So, if I love God and I'm saved and I'm living a Christian life, how can I hook up with a thug that don't even go to church?
That's right.
Wow.
How can I and expect that? Oh, and I know our mentality. I hear y'all already. Oh, but he'll start going to church with me and he'll change and get saved. I used to say the same thing when I first got saved. Oh yeah, he'll get saved and then you know what? Guess what? He'll follow you to church and may get up there and accept Christ as his personal savior. But soon it wears off because there is no substance. There is no true love or dedication that they have for God. And they only did it because of you. And look, that's not just for the women, it's for the men too.
Oh, yes.
Wait on God. Look at a prophetess saying, oh, I was saying, oh, this ain't God. But look, try the spirit to see if it's of God. Look at the connection. Look what God bound together. And remember, you're doing this for a lifetime. We ain't playing patty cake, because it's serious when we come into a covenant agreement with each other. And a covenant is a spiritually binding relationship. Yes. So guess what? We're coming into partnership not only with the one that we are with, but also with God. Yes. So we've got to remember that who we are with, what Ecclesiastes 4:12 says, that a cord of 3 strands is not easily torn apart. Yes. So when we put God in the midst of it, he has to be the center of our covenant. Yes. Look, everyone that's here tonight, look, y'all know how we do it. Those that are not here, if you have any questions tonight, again, we're always on this platform. If you have any questions for the Carvils, you can ask it, and we will make sure that they answer all questions on tonight. They're such a beautiful couple. Yes. All right. Okay. So our topic, building a lifetime of oneness. Babe, what you think about when you hear that topic, building a lifetime of oneness?
One thing I really think about is, togetherness. Having that togetherness, having that one mindset together, coming together, and you're on one accord with one another. You both have the same, I wouldn't say thoughts, but the same mindset. Mm-hmm. So that's very important in marriage, that you are on one accord with one another, that you're not mixed up and one person thinking one way and the other one thinking another way. Mm-hmm. But it's it's coming together as one. And I know one thing that me and my wife always do a lot is if there's something that we trying to, get together and come to an agreement, we always do it through us talking, and us communicating and us doing those things. And then we find that oneness that, okay, this is what we can do. Because a lot of times people just react without even questioning or talking to to their significant other. So they just react and say, oh, I'm gonna just do it. He'll be all right with it. She'll be all right with it.
Yes.
Instead of just saying, you know what, let me go to them first. Let me talk with them. Let me see what their mindset is. Let's see what they're thinking about. And before you know it, by the time you go to them now, they're thinking the same thing you're thinking.
Yes.
And now you're saying, oh, wow, I'm glad I did that instead of just doing what I want to do on my own, and knowing that you're not on your own. So there's another part of that. It's your wife, it's your husband. You have another person that's in your life that you have to, hold yourself accountable for. And you can't just go do like you want to, just go do what you want to do. And it affects the other person. So I really think that that helps in a marriage or a relationship. That helps us. That helps you to gather that oneness, have that trust, have that understanding. And me and my wife, I always tell my wife, get out of my head, because she always in my head. She know what I'm thinking before I say it out my mouth. And bro, you don't know how hard that is. It's like I get ready to say something and she's saying the same thing.
I'm supposed to be there.
Anywho, so yeah, she be in my head sometime, and I'll never forget. It was one time we was in the car, and next thing you know, I start to go. And she doing the same thing as I'm doing. And I'm like, can I at least have that by myself? But, I love it. I love it anyway, because, it just showed that oneness between me and her. And it helps us to build off of that. People don't understand, just because you've been together 14, 15 years, you can still build something more. You can add more. I would say add more flavor to your relationship, to your marriage, to you, to the person that you with, because if you got that spiritual oneness like that, then there's nothing that you can't do. There's nothing that's unbreakable. We know how the devil always try to break up marriages and always trying to, get in one person ear, get in the other person ear. And now, we have that separation. But I thank God when you own that oneness together, you already know the tricks of the enemy. You already know what he's going to try to do. So you get it squashed before the enemy can get involved.
Yes. Before we go to our question, you said 14, 15 years, and it brought back a memory. I was at y'all wedding. And I cannot remember the pastor who was sitting next to me, bright-skinned lady, very petite. And when you were going out after you did your vows, and you was making your exit, she turned to me and said, "You're next."
Wow.
Look, and how many years y'all been married?
15.
And we've been 14, so I guess I was next.
15.
Absolutely.
Look, we have a question for you both. How would you know he's the one?
Ooh, that's good. Let me first say, I appreciate both of you guys seeing something in us and to have us here on this great, awesome platform. The Senior Pastor Reese, you're the bomb. I see what you did for your wife the other day. That is very awesome and wonderful. This is
I'm gonna tell y'all about that once you answer the question.
This is a topic that's kind of near and dear to my heart, and I'm kind of what you see is what you get type of person. And so one of the things that I firmly believe, how do you know that he is the one? When my wife and I first started courting each other, realistically, I was okay in my singleness. I was okay in who I was. She was okay in her singleness, and she was okay with who she was. She was content where she was, and I was content where I was. And in that moment, you know, our contentments in a sense collided. My question is, you want to know how do you know if he's the one? My question first is, are you sure you're the one? Simply because I believe this according to scripture. The Bible says, a man that findeth himself a wife findeth himself a good thing and have obtained favor from the Lord. This is the key behind it, and I think we often miss it. It did not say the man that finds a woman and get married. No, it didn't. She had to be a wife first. He has to be a husband first. And if he's not possessing the qualities and the characteristics of a husband, and you're not displaying the qualities and the characteristics of a wife, then neither one of y'all are one. You have to be a wife first, and he has to be a husband first. And then when destiny collides, you'll just know. You'll just know. My wife said she wanted she wanted a 6-foot man with 6 figures. I had neither one. So,
that was on the list.
Okay.
And she also said, most importantly, so God skipped all the other stuff and said she wanted a man that loved God. I wanted a woman who would not be a hindrance to my ministry.
Yes.
I wanted a partner for life and somebody who would not be a hindrance to my ministry. And so when I found my wife, for me, I was already watching. I was listening to what people had already said about her. You know what I mean? I knew what I knew. You know, Jesus said, who do you say I am? You told me who they say you are, but who do you say I am? And so I knew what I knew about her, and I listened to what other people said. I said, you know what, this probably could be a good match, maybe. And for me, it was funny because, again, when my mom turned 50, I had told my brothers, I said, look, everybody got to bring a date. All right, you hear me? Everybody got to bring a date. I don't care if you rent or buy one. I'm joking. I'm going renting and buying people. And I said, well, how am I going to put this demand on them? And I don't have anybody. And I was kind of drawn to her because, like she said, we hadn't talked in forever. And I call myself being extra professional on the phone and like, hello, may I speak with Lakeisha? And she said, and she called me out automatically after like not talking for years. And the gift I bought her, I still remember, it was a bottle of perfume. And I really bought it not because of how it smelled, but because the title of it was Spark. And I told her, you sparked something in me because you recognized my voice when I spoke to you the first time after not speaking to you forever.
Wow.
Then you accepted. I didn't have to beg you and call you back. And automatically, I was like, would you be my flower for my mom's birthday party? And automatically, she said yes. And for me, that sparked something within me. And so that was like, well, but maybe it's worth pursuing because, again, I was happy with Jesus and Jesus alone. You got to be the one. And when destiny collides, you'll know.
Beautiful. And you said something so key because a lot of times we look for people to fill voids in our lives. So someone to complete us.
Exactly.
And then, we look around. Oh, I'll be happy if I have this one, or I'll be happy if I have this one. But you said something that was so key. You both were already content in your singleness.
Absolutely.
So then when you came together as one, all you did was compliment each other because you wasn't looking for her to feel this. She wasn't looking for you to feel that. You were already happy. And that's what we have to learn to do. Stop trying to find this, just like rebounding with boyfriends. Okay, we break up with somebody, then we jump into another relationship because we don't want to feel the pain and the hurt and the abandonment that we feel, but we're just using that person to fill the void.
Yes.
And then we're still not happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And they could be perfect. I've watched perfect, I've watched some couples who went over and over and over again, and I was like, they're both good matches, but for some reason they're not meeting because there was something missing on the inside of the individual themselves. Yes. So you have to be whole yourself and love you enough and receive the love of God. Amen. I'm sorry, you got preachers on here, so we could be on preachers.
No, you good.
And receive the love of God within yourself.
Yeah.
And then it'll be that connection like it was with who that was, Elizabeth and Mary. A baby will leave, or something else will.
And bro, that is so right, because you're getting me back to remember before I got with my wife, I was content just going to church, being involved in ministry, and I poured myself into the ministry I was in. I just jumped all in, and I was content with that until one day I was talking to my bishop, and I said, "Listen," I told him, "I think I'm ready to find somebody, And he told me something. So he said, "Well, make sure you okay first before you jump into something else." Mm-hmm. So I had to make sure I was okay.
Yes.
That I was prepared to say, okay, I wanted to be with somebody, And once I found that, and once I looked at that, then I decided to myself, I said, God, I think I'm ready, And my bishop told me, go home and write down, some things how you want your wife to be. And it was so funny because the things I wrote down, I already knew, who it ricocheted back to, because I used to pass all the time. And I knew she didn't live there anymore, but I used to pass her parents' house all the time, and I used to say, I wonder if I stop and ask her where she is. And I said, nah, I ain't gonna do that. I'm not gonna stop. But it's so funny how God can set something up with you and get you in a place where you do see each other again. And that was the thing. It had been 24 years since I saw her. And it's like, it's something on the inside of me had a feeling. And it was so funny. When I hugged her goodbye, I started feeling these butterflies. I'm like, what is that all about? Because it's like, I wasn't feeling that before. Now all of a sudden I'm getting butterflies. What's that? So it just shows you that, when you know that that's the one, you have to be complete yourself. I was complete. I was good for, I was doing good for myself, by myself. But, sometimes you have those times as a man wants to have a relationship and have a wife one day. That was my goal. I said, well, one day I want to get married. I want to have a wife, and I want to have a wife that can handle me, because I know I'm a handful sometimes. So thank you. See, y'all see how she doing me, right? But anyway, anywho, I know I back then I knew I could be a handful, and I needed somebody who can work with me, and work in me, far as, hey, I know you're going through this, but you know what? I can help you through. I can help push you through all that, because a lot of times, us as men, we have those pressure times, those times that we trying to, keep our stuff together and keep doing stuff. And I was the kind of person, bro. I like to look good. I like to dress well. I like nice things sometimes. So, that was just me. I said, well, I always wanted to just look good. Sometimes I never know. I might meet my wife. I don't know, but I wanted to, not look the part, but I wanted to be in that situation where, when I did find my wife, that I'm not looking all crazy. You know what I'm saying? So when she came into my life, back into my life, it was like, you know, it was a whole different atmosphere. It was a whole different atmosphere. And it was one of the best times of my life, that when we got back together, because we had been together, I think 6 months. And then I just decided one day, and I said, I went with her to do a marriage, because she had to do a marriage at somebody's house. And so on the way back we was in Pembroke Pines, and on the way back, I told her, I said, hey, let's stop the Jared. And she said, okay. Stop the Jared. So we stopped the Jared, and we went in, and she saw this ring, and I was like, what'd you think about that ring? And, you know, she was like, hey, I like it. It looks okay. But I like that one. So, you know, I'm sitting there like, oh, you like that one? I'm saying, bro, I'm up here saying, woo, that's kind of expensive. You sure you don't want to look? She's like, no, that's the one. I said, okay. Well, you know, I'm just thinking hypothetically. But, you know, after all of that, you know, it made me realize that I had to marry her. I couldn't. I lost her 24 years ago because it was my fault, though. I went away to college, and I felt like, hey, I didn't want to hold her back. And, you know, I'm way in Ohio playing football.
So he dumped me.
Now, y'all don't take that as, you know, come on now. I got somebody. It wasn't like I dumped her. I wanted her. I wanted her to be happy, knowing that, you know, she didn't have to worry about me, because I was way in Ohio, you know. So it just made me. But when I came back home, when I got injured in football and had to come back home, you know, I thought about contacting her. But I was kind of like, she might be mad at me, you know, one of those kind of things. But I didn't know. So I just decided to wait. And, you know, 24 years it took, but I thank God that when we did see each other and we did got back together, that some of the same feelings I felt when we were young kids, because I never forget us used to go to the movies and used to go to the Omni and go catch a movie, or we just hang out. But it's just that familiar, you know, that it came back. Yeah, yes. It came back familiar to me. And I finally realized when I saw her that night at the church, that I realized that I wanted to be back with her. And I just knew that that I was happy when I saw her. Honestly, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I called my mom and I said, Mom, guess who I saw? And when I told her Sean, she was like, Sean? You mean the red girl? Oh, I liked her. Then my mom said something so crazy. She was like, you getting ready to get married? I'm like, what? Ma, I just saw her one night. I'm gonna go from that to get married. Yeah, you're gonna get married. I ain't worrying about that. And 6 months later, you know, we got married. Mm-hmm. But since the marriage, I have enjoyed everything with our marriage. And that's very important that, you know, we've been married now 14 years, and she's my ride or die. We just do everything together, no matter what. And I'm going to tell you this little story, because she went out of town for 2 days. Bro, sis and bro, I was the worst. I was so miserable.
Oh, we knew you
that was the worst 2 days of my life. When I tell you, I was in the house all by myself. I'm sitting there like, Lord Jesus, and I couldn't sleep at all. Couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't do nothing. Oh. And I was just sitting there like, she called me, when you coming home? Because I'm like, you know, but it made me feel good. And I decided, I said, you know, while she was out of town, I said, you know what? When she come back, I want to have something special for her. And I know she was long overdue, because she had her car since it was, you know, since we bought it brand new. And I just decided, I said, you know what? She always talked about this Alexis Sports. So, you know, she always said, well, I wish I can get one of those and this and that. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make it happen. You know?
So, sis, we got to go for a week. And I want to see what I get when I get back.
Okay.
Bro, where we going to go? Where we going to go, bro?
He said you going back. He going with you this time.
That's right. I told her, man, that was her last trip.
They say absence makes the heart grow fonder.
No, it don't. It makes you go cuckoo. And I was cuckoo for Cocoa Pops for 2 days, man. I was going through it, but hey, I learned. You know, it does. It make you, you know, understand and miss your wife or your husband when they go out of town and they're not home. But it makes you realize how much you enjoy being with them. You know. And when she came home Sunday, I was so happy because I was like, look, I ain't got to be in a quiet house by myself no more.
Oh.
You know, so that it really helped me. It really helped me realize those things. And I know a lot of us that's on here tonight, you know, it's something that helps you. It's something that helps you, you know, miss the person that you with, you know, and that's a good thing, but you know, you always want to let them know how much you miss them, you know?
Sis, talk to us about building a lifetime of oneness. What comes to mind when you think about oneness?
Well, I actually kind of wrote out some stuff. So I'm a planner when I...
Go ahead, sis.
Well, the Lord puts in me. But just when you gave us that topic, I began to talk because we had our marriage retreat weekend, our ministry, and it was phenomenal. And so overseer, he would always share with me in our marriage to kind of work through whatever issues or problems, because, you know, when you have, I think marriage is on different levels for different people. And I always respect that. And I embrace that, being a clinical mental health student in training. So I learned so much just in that aspect, but being able to realize and understand that marriages are on different levels, you know, not just saying years. Because when we look at years, I've been married for 15, I've been married for 20 years. And we think that we are on the level because we've been married for so long to be a forefront for marriages. But many levels, you've been married for 20 years, but your maturity in your marriage is still elementary. It still, you know, has no root or no strong roots to it. And so he brought John and Julie Gottman, and he would always share the videos. And in my program, one of my professors talked about it as well, about them being such great leaders. So we sat down and we watched a lot of the videos and just some of the tools they provided. And I love one thing is, as Overseer always taught, and he would say one thing is when he shared the video with me is that he liked their video more so than in a lot of other marriage, you know, couples or those who are doing marriage, because it's not about pointing the fingers or you know, bashing the men or bashing the women. It's talking about the problems, you know, and the issues and how do we resolve these issues. So talking about oneness, it can be a beautiful journey, but oneness has to be a process of continuous growth. We have to continually grow individually in order for us to grow as a union. We can't grow. And I think sometimes, and I think what happens is we have maybe the one person, the husband growing and the wife not, you know, the wife growing and the husband not. It takes continual growth from both sides. And if we don't see evidence of that growth, then we should be able to sit down and talk about where we are, what are those hindrances, what are those issues, so we can deal with them accordingly. Because as we are growing in oneness, it's a process. It's not somewhere you arrive overnight. It is a process, because where we are today, we were not here, I would say, about 5 years ago. We were not here. I wouldn't even, you know, sat here before, because I'm real. And I'm real with God. This relationship that I have with God is not something that I fake. It is real. I have conviction. I have, and so we've been asked on many platforms, can y'all do marriage? This is the first platform that we've sat on as a couple, because we had to work out some things before we can sit and be fake and phony, before people sit and smile and grin, knowing this is the problem. I say we have people who are presenting these things, but then behind the scenes is chaos.
Absolutely.
It's confusion. It's all kind of, and then you see 5 years later they divorcing. Well, what happened? I was in marriage workshops. You was telling people how to stay together because they didn't have it together.
Right, that's right. That's right.
And I always told overseer, we're going to be one. And when we sit before people, because first of all, there's warfare that's attracted to it.
Yes.
Going to present unity and oneness. The enemy is going to fight against, and he's coming with every weapon from the gates and the pits of hell to tear down and to destroy, to ensure that that message does not get out to the people. He's going to make sure. And so the warfare, he's going to hit your house.
Yes.
He's going to hit the children. He's going to hit the marriage. And if you're not in a place of maturity, so you can deal with the issues, because some of the issues, I said, somebody asked the question, how do you know he's the one? Beyond God connecting and you feeling, I think you have an uncertainty in your spirit. You kind of have, because even though I was somewhat like, okay, God, I wanted 6 figures. I wanted 6 feet tall. And he was neither of that, but he gave me number one on the list, somebody who loved you more than, so I can do without 6 figures. Yes. Because if God is on our side, then guess what? He'll give us the strategy to do what we need to do to make that, to manifest that. I don't want to be with somebody with 6 figures and you cheating on me. I got to look at your phone. We've been married 15 years, been together 16 years. I've never gone in his phone, wondered, are you out doing? Never, because he has constantly, his track record has proven to me I can trust him. I can trust him. So there's no shaky or flaky. We've been building in oneness. And although the enemy tried to stick his head in and tried to fight against us, because that's why I said multiple levels. When you are married, and I always tell them, I said, when you're married and you're raising children, that's another level.
Yes.
More than just being married and being able to enjoy one another. Now we got the issues with kids, and we have children, and how we're disciplining the kids, and how we're doing this with the children, and who's going to take responsibility for it. So this is a lot of dynamics that we have to tap into. We have to grow into oneness with sharing all of these experiences. These are experiences that we have to share.
Yes.
Share these experience, husbands and wives. When we have children, we share these experiences. It's not a one-sided thing. It's not one side. It's not for all for him, for me, for all for him to do, and it's not all for. We share this experience.
We're together.
Who has the strength on this journey? We're on a journey together, and this journey is building a lifetime in oneness. That's the journey. The journey is oneness, but we examine ourselves on this journey. Who has the capabilities? Who has the grace? Who has the anointing? Who has the patience to deal with this level of our life? We have to be real. Where I tell them, I said, I've been married for 16 years, but I've never had to pay a bill. Never. I don't know what the light bill costs. I don't know what somebody asked me, like, what's your light bill? I don't know. I never had to pay car insurance. I don't know none of these things. I know how to do it if I had to. If people say, well, you shouldn't do that if God take your husband. Listen here, I did it.
Come on.
I have consistent years by myself before God sent this man. So guess what? I'm not fighting him, but he's very good with being a provider. So I relinquish that to him. I'm not in control. Let me see your check. He manages everything and never had no issues with power, then disconnected, bills, getting notices in the mail. When I tell him, I say, baby, you take care of this woman well. You take care of your family well. And I appreciate that. I give him his accolades and honor him and respect him because he does it well. God has graced him. So I know without a shadow of a doubt, beyond that, when we got married and I was in between vehicles and he saw my need and bought me a car for my wedding gift. And look, I thought I was showing out, Pastor Reeses. I thought I was showing out. I took one of our spare bedrooms because we had kids then, had a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. So I said, I'm gonna make him an office. I had to went in a chair and bought him his furniture. And I had to put the pictures. I made a nice office for him so you can have your study time in here, your prayer little chambers. You come in here, your little pot, man cave, do whatever you need to do. I won't disturb you. I thought I was showing out. I get to their wedding, and brother hand me them keys. I was like, yes, you are the one.
Yeah, right now.
building that oneness on this journey, there has to be a deep sense of unity.
Yes.
Letting nothing separate or come in between. And that's one thing. I remember being single, and I remember one of my old pastors said to me, she said, Evangelist Coleman, she said, whenever you get married, whenever you do, she said, just remember, don't have nobody living in your house
Come on.
the first couple of years. She said, because you need to build and you need to develop with your husband without anybody interrupting, anybody opinions, anybody. So she said, you keep outsiders out.
Yeah.
When you go in that house, you close your door, you keep your business in that house. So no matter what we've endured over these years, don't nobody know about it because we don't share our business. You know, we don't blast each other. It's not for Facebook. It bothers me. That's where you tell when you're not ready. Because when you're not ready, the very things that irritate you about your spouse, instead of you taking it to the Lord in prayer, instead of you having conversation with them, you're going and taking it out on Facebook and social media and everything else, and you're putting your business out there. That's immaturity.
Yes, that is.
Yes,
that means you were not ready. And we are here today because, as he said before, we were ready. God was preparing us individually for what we would endure as we were on this journey of oneness.
Yes.
It's easy, but because we were mature, we were ready. I told him, I said, we've been married. As a matter of fact, one of our old evangelists who's moved away was in the car with us, and we was riding, and he and I just started having someone we call a heated fellowship. And she just bust out laughing. And I was like, she said, I've never seen a couple argue, like kind of, because it was such, she said it was just so funny to her because she can, sense that, we're going and saying things, but it was just still with a love. And it was still just like being respectful and walking in our conviction, not mishandling one another, because God dealt with me. I'm not going to tear down this man. I don't care how bad things get, no matter what happened. He's God's man. I'm not going to embarrass you. I'm not going to that's not my job. I'm here to cover and love you, to embrace you and to support you, to affirm you. That's my job. And anything beyond that, even when you are irritable and you are irritated with everything about that person, maturity is you hold it, your peace. You take it to the Lord, let God work it out. Because a lot of things that we are in conflict about in our marriage on this journey of oneness as we're building, because conflict is going to come.
Yes.
We're not going to always agree because we are different personalities that is coming together, not just our personalities, but we're bringing two different households, two different backgrounds, two different parental stories. My parental story was different than his parental story. So our stories are coming together, and sometimes the stories can clash. It takes a mature person to sit down and to go through everything that you have before you and to say, okay, this requires my attention. This right here, I'm going to let go, and I'm going to let God. But so many of us, we're so aggressive and we have to handle this and we got to take care of this and nobody going to do. No, that's not the way we fight battles. That's not the way we're going to do it. That's not the way we're going to embrace this because it should be creating a lasting bond.
Yes.
And I told him, I said, off the time, I said, because the enemy is not just after our marriage, he's after our children.
Yes.
When I walk away from this, I leave my children unguarded. And until people don't realize and don't understand the hearts of their children because they've blocked them out because they're so engaged in the conflict that they don't realize that their behavior is affecting their children. My baby boy, our baby boy said to me just the other day, and he said to me, Mom, he said, I'm so glad because we're talking about a neighborhood, one of the kids in the neighborhood. And I said, I haven't seen your friends, where are they? And he was like, well, I think they're staying with their mom. Because they come to their dad on the weekend. And he said to me, Mom, I'm so glad I get to see my mom and my dad every night.
Wow. Come on. Wow.
And he just reminded me what the enemy agenda was all of these years, because what it is, he wants to divide you as a couple so he can get to your children. So he can devour the seeds of your kid. And so this is the enemy's agenda, oftentimes because he wants to affect the bond that we should be building together. And it's going to require us to prioritize and be open in our communication, sharing thoughts. It's so much sharing, even our fears.
Yes.
We have to share our fears, and we don't want to be transparent. We don't want to be vulnerable.
Right.
everybody wants to be the bigger person to show that, you know what, I don't break. I'm strong. I can handle this. I can do this. But we need one another.
That's right. That's right. And I want to say this is I agree with everything you said, because one thing, me and my wife always have this rule that, you know, if there's something, no matter how bad something is, we're gonna discuss it. We're gonna talk about it, and we made this thing that, you know, to each other, that we wouldn't be mean to each other, wouldn't talk, you know, bad to each other in any kind of way, but we'll discuss things and know that, hey, I understand how you feel, you understand how I feel, and sometimes we don't always agree, you know, but we find what we say, we find that common ground, and we'll say, you know, if we agree to disagree. So maturity, you know, we'll agree to disagree. So I'm gonna give a little, she gonna give a little, and we're gonna meet in the middle somewhere, you know, to get it right.
Because it doesn't edify us. It doesn't help us to grow if we're at each other. If we're walking in different directions and we never come together and say, wait, God joined us together. God joined us. We took our holy vow before God. And because we're going through this doesn't mean that, oh, now we're separated. Now we're split. Now we can't handle it. We have to stay together. And that's what the enemy does. He try to come in to cause division. So there's no communication. So there's no oneness. There's no, we're mad, going weeks without talking, in the same bed, backs turned, mad. We sleep because we so mad. Our back turned and we just steaming and fuming. And then we never think about, what if that person don't wake up in the morning?
That's right.
So all of this, we have to learn to be, and I know we all grown. Oh, you can't tell me I ain't immature. You can't tell me.
I'll tell you. I 100% agree. And I just want to interject this part in here. I've always told Love Tabernacle of God, that's my church, that marriage is not for children. And I always told them sex is for marriage. And marriage is for mature people. Because different things come out of sex. That's why sex should be in marriage. Because when diseases come out of sex, and if you're not mature, you'll die from something that you could be healed from. Emotions come out of it. And if you're not mature, you're going to be able to knock your windows out your car. and a baby comes out of it. And if you're not mature, you're not going to know how to handle that. And as we deal with this oneness, this building a lifetime of oneness, this scripture came to me. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7. And now we do understand that in God, there's neither male nor female Greek. But this is what came to me, apostle and senior pastor. And it blessed me totally. It's one of the first things that came to my mind. It says, likewise, ye husbands, dwell. That means stay put.
Right.
Don't go all over the place.
Yes.
But watch, there's a way you dwell. Dwell with them according to knowledge. And when you're not mature, you only care about yourself. And you don't even care about what your spouse is experiencing, what your spouse is feeling, what your spouse is going through, what changes. And so you don't even know. So how can you stay with somebody you don't know?
That's right.
Dwell with them according to knowledge and giving honor. I love what my wife just said. It was just so beautiful. I just made my chest stick up. And giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. And when we understand, when we look at weaker vessel, we're not talking about I'm better. No. And this generation don't understand it as much as I grew up in dining room tables. I grew up and you ate dinner at the table, and on special occasions you brought out the fine china. You got stoneware and you got fine china. Fine china is more expensive. And you handle that differently than you handle the paper, the plastic, and the stoneware. And so when you understand the delicacy of that fineness of your spouse, you handle them accordingly. If she is sensitive to certain things, I had to learn that early on. I ain't gonna mention it now, but we were just talking about childhood, and she mentioned something from her childhood. I mentioned something from my childhood. She cracked a joke on my issue, so I cracked one right back, and it shifted the entire atmosphere. I realized there, this is fine China. For how we handle that, and this is what senior pastor. This is really blessed me. So as unto the weak vessel, and as being heirs unto the grace of life. Here it is, that your prayers be not
hindered. Yes.
That your prayers be not hindered. And this is what the Holy Spirit really began to deal with me concerning this particular scripture, because some wives would say, all right, you better treat me right, or God ain't gonna hear your prayer. That ain't what it's dealing with. No. I can't pray right when my house ain't right.
Come on, man.
I can't seek the face of God for the answers that we need if we're going back and forth, back and forth. And I have not brought a resolve, or we have not collectively brought a resolve to it, so that we can be in a place of oneness.
Yes.
So how are we going to pray and talk to God? We ain't even talking to each other.
Come on now.
That's a hindrance to your prayers. And I don't know about nobody else. I got too many prayers I need answered.
High five on that,
bro. So I need to make sure oneness abides.
Yes.
It gotta abide. If it means me shut up my mouth so we can keep oneness, it has to abide.
Yes.
What's going to be the example? We have two sons. I'm believing God totally for both of my sons, so God to do miraculous things, and I want both of them to be excellent husbands. And you know who they're going to get that from? Me.
You.
They have a choice. I had a choice. My dad was not there. So I had a choice. Do I repeat what he did, or do I do the opposite? So I decided to do the opposite. I want my children to repeat. I want them to say, my daddy ain't never do that.
Right.
My daddy ain't never do my mama like that.
Right.
So I'll never do my wife like that. So I think that's a part of that oneness is knowledge. And that knowledge helps keep that level of peace, that level of grace, so that whenever you talk to God about anything, I get happy. When the scripture talk about anything, my mind just gets to wondering, you said anything? Did you really mean anything? God says, I don't play with my words. Anything I say, I mean. So I don't want my prayers hindered. We got to operate in the spirit of oneness and build a lifetime of oneness. How serious is it? How serious is your position that you can't be in oneness with your spouse?
Wow.
And when you spoke about the children, when we raise our children and our children see us, then our sons know how to treat a woman when he began to court a woman. And then the daughter sees how my daddy treat my mama. So I'm not going to let a man mishandle or mistreat me because my daddy ain't do my mama like that.
Absolutely.
So it's important that our oneness, see, we think it's just about us, but it's about our seed too.
That's right. That's right.
The ones that are coming behind us, the ones that are watching us, the ones that are following us, the ones that are looking up to us. It's our seed too.
Yes.
And what happens when the women that are abused or men that are abused, their parents, they saw their parents were living in abuse. My daddy beat my mama beat my daddy. So then I grew up with that same generational curse, and now I'm beating whoever I'm with.
Absolutely. I was just talking to my godmother on Sunday, and you guys were there. I think that was last year when we laid my godfather to rest, and Apostle Mosby Nelson. I was talking to Mother Rosa Nelson, and I was telling her that we live in a different generation. But when I watch your marriage and I watch the turmoil that you guys went through and you experienced, but at the end, you decided we still must have oneness. Mm-hmm. And we see the grace because of their oneness that fell on their children. Mm. We see the grace because of their oneness that fell on their grandchildren and even their great-grandchildren. Mm-hmm. So for somebody, God is going to cause you to be a generational curse breaker when you start abiding in oneness.
Amen.
But one thing I wanted to add with that is because Overseer and I was talking earlier in regards to us just being in a different day where we saw marriages endure. From growing up as a kid, there was no out. Today, I said, getting married with the thought of, okay, I'm buying a pair of shoes. Or I'm getting a car. I don't like it. I'm trading out. And I told him, I said, I received some information talking about where we are as a generation, as a culture, that in the maybe my generation, born 70s, and, we had that mindset that we didn't want to miss out on anything. So they had what they call FOMO, fear of missing out. And so we were looking to get married because we didn't want to be without our family. And, we didn't want to miss out on having that white picket fence. And we didn't want to miss out on or being with someone for the rest of our life. But now this generation, this current culture that we're in, they have this thing called FOMO, a fear of a better option. So they're not embracing oneness because they are afraid of a better option that's going to come along if they unify with one person and connect themselves with one person. And they are doing this not only in marriage, but it's the same for ministry. It's cross the board in every aspect of life where people have this fear of a better option, so they don't commit.
Right.
And the only way there will be oneness, there has to be commitment.
Yes.
That's right.
The only way we become one with God is when we commit to him.
Yeah, that's right.
And as long as we're straddling and we have, and he even tells us, choose ye this day whom you're going to serve. Let Baal be Baal, let God be God. You have to make a decision. And when you are in relationship and you are in marriage, too many of us think of, okay, I have a way out. I have an escape. If this don't work, I'm done. It's over. But no, you get married. I remember Overseer, when we first got married, he'd always tell me, he said, if you leave, I'm leaving with you. Where you going to be going? So if you said you leaving me, you're divorcing me, I'm going with you. So there's no out. But we're looking today, everybody wants a way out, and we'll choose any route, with any kind of reasoning, irreconcilable differences, all kinds of things that we come. But ultimately, what it boils down to is the conflict because of the differences of personalities.
Yes.
And this is what we don't want to target. We don't want to deal with our personality. We want to look at the marriage. The marriage is not the issue. It is what's under the marriage, what's under it. It's what's under it. John Gottman said something. He said, when you look at the subtext, what's under the argument of what the argument is really about, the arguments are really about three main things: love, what it means to be a family, and respect. That's what it's mainly about: love, what it means to be a family, and respect. Many of us don't know what love is. We didn't get it from our parents. And so now we're trying to give what we never had. You can't give what. That's why when I was saved, I embraced my singleness because I didn't know what love was. I didn't know what it was. And so I couldn't find a man. I needed to find love first within myself. I needed to find love that God has promised. Those kind of love that God says unconditional, that love where you can love yourself and be happy with yourself. So when I was single, I wasn't looking for a man. I didn't go by. I heard people, they had to bought their dress, and if they got a prophetic word that they will be married, they done already got their venue and they dress, and ain't even had a man. And so I used to be like, well, where your man at? They used to be like, I was like, well, you need to wait till it manifests. Because you have and that dress you have, if that man shows up 6 years later, instead of putting the time and all of the in other words, the things that will adorn the day,
Yes.
The work need to go in the marriage.
Exactly. The wedding is one day, the marriage is for a
lifetime.
That's it.
And that way, and that work need to go in now before you get married. Because because you know, a lot of time people, I want to be married, blah 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 blah. But are you prepared to get married? Mm-hmm. Are you ready for marriage?
Are you a husband? Are you a wife? Are you?
Yeah, are you? That's right. That's right. Because some women are not wives, and some men are not husbands.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I often say to single people, if you're walking around asking yourself by every man or every woman that walks past you, is that the one? Is that the one? You're not ready.
You're not ready.
You're not ready because you should be so busy. I take oftentimes from Ruth, you know, talking about Boaz, what she was gleaning, she was working. It is not just the story of, I'm waiting on my Boaz. And many people have gotten so focused on a Boaz that they forgot it's not about waiting for Boaz to come, but Ruth was working. That's why he saw her, because she was doing her work. Many of us are not doing our work, but we want Boaz to show up. Boaz don't show up until you start doing your work. And that's where it was. He showed up because I was doing my work. I was doing my work. I was fasting. I was praying. I was consecrating myself. I was seeking the face of God. It was me and God. God, I was content in my singleness. Hey, God, if I had to wait 15, it was 12 years. I was counting. I said 12. When he came 12 years, I said, God, whenever you're ready. And when he showed up, I was still questioning it. Like, God, are you sure? That's why I was telling you, my brother, I'm still, because I was content. I was waiting and looking for you to come. But thank God you're here and you showed up. But you have to be content in who you are.
Yes.
You have to be able to do your work. And when Boaz come, when husband come, because you've done your work, you're ready to be a wife.
Yes.
It's a lot of work. It's not, and I'm telling you, it's more than that that dress I wore 15 years ago is in a box in the closet. Still tough. Still tough. That cake been gone. That we chose that we're gonna eat again in a year. All of that everything is over. That one day it's over. It is now what we deal with every single day, and we are so, because it takes a level of maturity. God had to deal with me. He said, you got attitude. Sister girl, let me check that first. You want your way. You want your way. This is how you're able. Serious, it's maturity that God can deal with you about you. And nobody else has to pull you out and say, this is in you. No, you should be able to hear from God to say, you know what, it's in you. So I'm not going to point the finger at the man when it's in me. Yeah. We have to deal with a lot of times ourselves, getting ourselves ready. And when you are ready, it is a continuous work. That's what continuous growth, individually and together.
Yes. This has been wonderful. As you spoke about love and respect, Ephesians 5:33, God gave us 2 rules for an enjoyable and functioning marriage. And what he said, nevertheless, each individual among you also is to love his own wife, even as himself, and the wife must see to it that she respects her husband. So it's love and respect is the foundation. And we cannot walk as one if we don't have those simple 2 words, simple words, but they carry heavy weight. Love and respect.
Yes.
Oh my God, we enjoyed y'all on tonight. Yes. Look, tell the watchers, those that are watching the broadcast, how can they find you?
Well, I'm on Facebook, obviously F. Emmanuel Carville. I'm too old fashioned to be doing all the extra social media, but so I'm on Facebook. You can look me up. Let me know. Send me a message and let me know that I'm a funny on Facebook. I'm like, I don't know you. Why am I going to accept your friendship? Send me a message. Hey, I saw you, and I'll be sure to connect.
Look, I gotta screen you first.
I gotta screen you. I don't go through Facebook drama and all that and Facebook beef. I don't do all that.
And I'm also
where can they find your ministry?
Love Tabernacle of God, Praise and Worship Christian Center on Facebook.
On Facebook, Love Tabernacle of God, Praise and Worship Christian Center. And so,
and our physical church location, 6248 Northwest 15th Avenue. Come on out down in the lovely city of Miami, Florida, where we at Love Tabernacle will love you into wholeness.
Oh, that is beautiful. We enjoyed you all on tonight. Y'all know we're here every other Thursday at 7:00 p.m. And we ask that you would please, if you have not done so already, please pick up your copy of The Love Cure for Relationship and Marriage. And we also have a communication book, 21 Days of Success, for your communication builder. Look, and all you need is one workbook because you're working together as a couple. So make sure you go to Amazon.com and pick up your look, the Carvils got theirs. Yes. Don't forget to follow us and subscribe, Unified Love Couples Ministry. We also have our website, Unified Love Ministries, unifiedlovecouplesministry.org. And if you would like personal counseling and you would like to meet with my husband and I one-on-one, we do provide counseling. Just visit our website, fill out the form, and we will be in contact with you. Look, we love the Carvils. This is our brother and sister. Yes. We've been riding or die for many years. We've warred together. We've cried together. We've loved on each other. We've had outside fellowship. We've dined together. And we're going to remain together.
Yes.
We love you both, and thank you so much for being here on tonight. Look, I know everyone, you all enjoyed them on tonight. Yes. So please don't forget. All right, we see or look at the comments. All the awesome, great teaching. Yes, we appreciate you all. Thank you so much for your support. And you all have a wonderful night. God bless you.
God bless you.